Hello and welcome to today's episode of Focus Atlanta. I am your host, Keisha Lancelin. Thanks so much for tuning in with us this Sunday afternoon. In our first segment, I want to talk a little bit about mental health and what, in fact, we can do to help some of the mental health issues right here in our own state of Georgia.
Thank you for having me. This is an important topic.
It is. And you know what? I don't think that often we feel that things trickle down from the national level to the state level. And that's exactly what you guys are trying to do.
That's right. We're trying to provide national support that will make a difference at the state and the local level, but more importantly, at the family level, to address mental health and substance use disorders, all in the interest of a piece of legislation that was passed almost 10 years ago now, called mental health parity.
When we think about mental health here in Georgia, some of the statistics aren't great. It feels like we're not doing a good job of taking care of patients. We're not doing a good job of providing the assistance that patients need. Would these type of issues perhaps be helped with this type of legislation?
Well, I think that this, again, pieces of legislation, bills, laws, don't mean anything if they don't work for the person that lives next door to you. I mean, that's really what the test of a piece of legislation is, how well it's implemented and how well it shows outcomes, at the local level, at the neighborhood level. So that's how we look at the judgment of this. And mental health parity has had its own challenges. And so you're not unique to that. That's true. But, it's really attempting to help clarify the issue and provide some solutions and ways to think about this issue differently, because it's changed. I mean, just think about it. I was looking at a TV show last night, a special that was about mental health. And what they were presenting was that in 2009, 10, and 11 is when we saw the biggest impact of the digital world on influencing, for example, children. And I follow children because that's the group I care the most about, because I'm a pediatric and a neonatal nurse practitioner by trade. And so out of all of the people that are part of the mental health continuum, that's the group that I care about the most. And so it was an interesting show that talked about, what is happening with kids and the difference that was made in that time frame around, the impact of TV and videos and, all that kind of stuff that was going on and what that's caused. But all of these were all of this stuff, and it's a lot of stuff, but all of it is a setup for depression and anxiety. And I think that's the big thing that you see with the young kids is depression and anxiety.
So when we think about the impact that it makes on our children, when we think about the impact overall, we feel a little hopeless. We feel a little like, is there anything that we can do? What do you say to that?
Well, I think there are. I think you're right. I think it brings up, because this is an issue, mental health and the challenges of mental health cross the lifespan. So there's going to be issues for children, just like there's going to be issues for the elderly. Everyone along the continuum, and then all of us may have intermittent challenges as we have individual events happen, that we get taken care of and move on. But for a number of people, that doesn't work well, and they're stuck in this situation of needing more help for a longer period of time. But so that's why I think it's hard when you try to put this in a bottle. You really can't, because everyone's different and all of the strategies are different. However, there are three things I think we're trying to push for now that will make a difference. One is institutionalized telehealth. That has made a huge difference for people, and it's safe. People feel like that's a safe method. I can talk on the computer to you, we can go back and forth, and it's a little less threatening, you would argue, than a formal one-to-one. However, those interpersonal relationships that a one-to-one provides are important as well. The other suggestion that we have is around providing support, more services and supports around the edges of mental health. And so what does that mean? That's making sure other pieces are in place. If you don't have the right food, for example, if you don't have food, if the programs don't work, then you're going to have mental health issues as a result of that. That's just what happens physiologically. So, I mean, there are those kind of pieces that we're looking at. How can we strengthen and how can we give states and locals the flexibility to make it work for them? So that would be one thing as well. And then the other is how can we take currently existing primary care providers, both in the inner city as well as in the rural areas, and help them understand they have a huge and an important role in mental health and providing the right services and supports to people. It's not about, can I refer you out to the guy down the street? If you're my primary care physician, I'm going to argue, now this is me, I'm going to argue that there's a responsibility there for them to pick up that service and those issues as well. So those are a few things that you could do. Then you can get into all of the pieces that you see touched on, in the media, which is what are we doing, for example, for kids around all of the television, the ads, Zoom, all that kind of stuff. That's another issue. How do you do that? I heard somebody last night say that a kid shouldn't have a cell phone in school. They shouldn't even be allowed to bring it. Well, that's going to be a little hard given what's happened in schools over the last, let's say, 5 years.
Absolutely.
But those are a few ideas I think that we've kind of tried to explore.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for taking time to give us some direction. Again, for on the outside looking in, sometimes with state level issues, we're not sure how that connects to the national issues. Is there, a way to bridge that gap? Is there, a venue for us to get these ideas out and for it to impact us directly here in our own communities? So thank you for making time for us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. All right, guys, we all have a role to play. Please take your opportunity to learn a bit more and do your part. Stay tuned for more Focus Atlanta. We'll be right back.